So how do you keep things volunteering? After going through this presentation, I'm sure you'll be fully clued up. This means that people assume that volunteers can be discriminated against or unfairly dismissed with no comeback. No organisation will be able to retain their volunteers if they felt they were being poorly treated. So how do you avoid your volunteers being eligible for employment rights? Mutuality of obligation, control and enforceable obligations, intention to form a contract, pay. Fixed hours, days or times. Holidays, having to book in advance and being given a holiday allocation. Notification of sickness. Ringing in is fine but would not have to fill in a self-cert or provide a sick note. Disciplinary procedures. You need to have an effective problem-solving procedure, but it should be demonstrably different to the one you use for paid staff. What do you think is the difference between a contract and an agreement? A contract doesn't have to be a written piece of paper signed by both parties. It doesn't even have to be a verbal agreement. A contract is a description of a relationship, even if neither party has explicitly said that they've intended the contract to be created. The actual relationship between the two may be judged as contractual. There are three legal concepts. Number one, agreement. In most voluntary and community sector organisations, there will be some kind of agreement with volunteers for them to provide their time to the organisation providing services. Number two, consideration. This is where the volunteer and the organisation have to exchange something of mutual value. Most voluntary and community sector organisations have consideration, time, training, etc. Number three, intention. This is where the volunteer and the organisation intend to create a legally binding relationship. Intention is usually implied by looking objectively at all the circumstances. For example, any payments, obligation to provide a minimum number of hours service, or agreements that relate to employment practices are what creates intention. Most volunteer agreements lack intention, which stops them amounting to contracts. To avoid creating a contract, it's a good idea to look at how you word any volunteering documents. The following things need to be taken into consideration in order to ensure that the relationship between your organisation and its volunteers does not become a contract of employment. Language. Volunteering agreements or policies should refer to intentions, expectations and privileges rather than rights and obligations. Health and safety and equal opportunities policies must refer to the obligation of the volunteer to follow organisational policies as this is a legal requirement. It's good practice to give volunteers written details of what the organisation offers and expects. Avoid employment-related terms such as contract, sick leave, annual leave, disciplinary, dismissal, etc. Reduce the formality. It's good practice for volunteers to provide with written role descriptions and person specs. These are similar to job descriptions but are much less formal. It's also good practice to have a procedure for dealing with complaints and grievances, but they should be quicker and simpler for volunteers than they are for employees. We will look at volunteer agreements in a separate presentation. The Volunteer Centre has a wide range of resources for those who manage volunteers. These range from sample documents, information sheets, we can give you links to online resources, and also potential networks that may help with your volunteer management where you can connect with other people who manage volunteers. There's no such thing as a silly question when you're involving volunteers, and we're more than happy to help you if we can. Please do get in touch and we'll do our best to help. Here are our contact details, email, direct phone number, and also our Facebook and Twitter feeds. There's loads of information on our website, which is volunteeringcounts.org.uk, including details of our training. We do regular posts on our blog sharing information, ideas, events, and also have an opportunity of the day every single day for local volunteer involving groups. So why not get in touch and see how we can help you get the very best of your volunteer programme.